Hello students, in this video we will learn how to solve word problems involving matrices. Here's the example. A business makes toy buses and toy lorries. The following table is used in calculating the cost of manufacturing each toy. And then you can see the information presented in the table form. Now they also add that label costs $8 per hour, wood, which is the material that we use, costs $1 per block, and the paint costs $2 per tin. And we are given the matrix A and B in the format that is 2 by 3 for A and 3 by 1 for B. Finally, C is given as AB. So what do the question want us to do? First, they want us to evaluate the matrix C, which is a multiplication of A and B, and then to explain what the elements of C represent. So in an earlier video, you have learned how multiplication of matrix work. So C equals to A times B. We just multiplied accordingly. So to get 58, we have 6 times 8 plus 4 times 1 plus 3 times 2. To get 32, we have 3 times 8 plus 4 times 1 plus 2 times 2. So, the next section, we are supposed to explain what the elements of C represents. So there are two elements in the matrix C, 58 and 32. How do we know what they represent? As you can see, the matrix A is formatted in this manner. The first row is actually the toy buses. The second row is actually the toy lorries, right? And then for each column, the first column is actually the label, okay, the number of hours for labor. Second column is wood, and the third column is paint. And matrix B, we have the three rows. They represent the label, the wood, and the paint, as well as the column, one and only column here, which represent the cost. So when we multiply them together, what actually happens? Remember that the column of the first matrix, in this case matrix A, must match the number of rows for the second matrix, which is matrix B. And in a word problem like this, you can see exactly why this rule actually is required. So when we multiply these two matrices together, you will observe that actually the label on matrix A actually multiply with the label on matrix B. The wood on matrix A multiply with the wood on matrix B, and the paint on matrix A multiply with the paint on matrix B. They have to correspond, right? And that is why we multiply in this manner. After we multiply them together, the final result is actually the row of matrix A, which is bus and lorries, and the column of matrix B, which is the cost. It works exactly the same as when we are trying to figure out how order of matrices work previously, right? So with this information, we can now explain. 58 represents the total cost to manufacture a toy bus. 32 represents the total cost to manufacture a toy lorry. Here's another example. Now they have a matrix D and is given by 100 and 200 in this manner, right? And we are told to evaluate DC. Once again, multiplication is actually taught in a previous video. You may review it if you need to recollect how it is done. But here it goes. So we have a 1 by 2 matrix multiplied with a 2 by 1 matrix, which will result in a 1 by 1 matrix. So in this case, it will be 100 times 58 plus 200 times 32. Once the multiplication is done, we can go on to explain what the elements of DC represent. In this case, there's only one element. So we need to explain what 12200 represent. So let's analyze this. The first matrix is just a single row matrix, right? And the second matrix is actually the result from our part A. So we know that we have bus and lorry as the row and the cost as the column. So we know that the column of matrix D must match the row of matrix C, right? Therefore, the first column is actually bus and the second column is lorries. So what do they represent? Well, we can actually figure it out by just doing a little bit of analysis, that we are probably looking at a situation where we are trying to manufacture 100 buses and 200 lorries. So the result will simply be the number, right? The total number, right? Or rather the cost, because we are actually using the column of matrix B to manufacture the number of each of the toy buses and toy lorries, in this case 100 toy buses and 200 toy lorries. And that is how we can solve word problems that involve matrices. The key here is to really understand what each row and each column of each matrix actually represent. Once you manage to actually figure out what they represent, explaining what the elements are will make a lot more sense and more intuitive. Good luck.